Are live.
Welcome to the CrackBerry.com podcast for Monday, November the 27th, 2017.
Hey, everybody. Kevin here for CrackBerry.com. It is Cyber Monday, and we are champions for BlackBerry. So you might call this the Cyber CrackBerry Champion podcast with a lot of special guests today. We've got the man, the myth, the hair, Michael Fisher, aka MrMobile. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, sir. Just trying to stay in motion. And
oh, he's on it. Oh my God, we're not going to be able to handle
my
it in
convenience keys. That's all. Yeah.
Amazing. We also have live from Germany. I'm just going to call him Jo and butcher his name now. It's Jan Ole Helmbold, but Jo, say it for us and welcome.
Jan Ole Helmbold, it's called in German.
It sounds very good.
Hey guys.
So we're going to talk to Jo in a bit, but we met in person in Germany, in Frankfurt, at our BlackBerry Unstoppable European Tour, and he was awesome. He's like a next generation CBK, so maybe I can retire one of these decades if he flourishes. So we had to get him on the CrackBerry podcast ASAP, and to be honest, we were trying to get him on like weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and it just didn't work. So this time we made it happen. So very exciting. We got Adam Zeiss as always, who's been loving his motion. So he's like a motion champion this episode.
Motion.
And he's standing, so nobody can say he's being grumpy.
That's the whole key right there.
It's the key. It's the key. It's the key.
The
key to motion. The key to motion.
This is the funniest CrackBerry podcast I've ever been on.
So many puns.
Okay.
And
he's in motion.
And we've got Blaze, who is getting ready to go on his CrackBerry Canada Unstoppable Tour. How you doing, Blaze?
I'm good. I'm adjusting myself to like going to bed earlier and waking up earlier. It's kind of a weird change.
Have you increased or decreased your consumption of Full Throttle?
I've actually decreased. So
wow.
I went to the doctor a few weeks ago and he told me to start eating healthier. So I've been eating like bananas and strawberries and just cutting back on a bunch of stuff.
Who are you?
I know. I'm like taking on Kevin. I'm not gonna like totally pull myself out of like all sugar and go all in like Kevin and Adam, but
like kefir and stuff.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'll definitely be a little bit healthier these days.
Other than massive alcohol consumption on the CrackBerry Canada Tour, we'll keep it healthy. And maybe it won't happen. Maybe sparkling water. So I got to do one big plug today because we're actually recording in a live studio audience here. I'm gonna like pivot around. We'll get some waves going. We'll get some like waves going. Get some more waves going back here. What you're witnessing is our wait for it. I got a hat change coming. Jeez. Oh, you're witnessing our Thrifter War Room right now. So as mentioned, it is Cyber Monday following up Black Friday. And one of our new digital brands, for lack of a better word, we launched in 2017, even though I've been thinking about it since 2014, is Thrifter.com. And Thrifter is like basically already, it's so young, but it's already the best place on the internet for deals, which is crazy. And obviously this is the big week of the year for deals. So we've assembled in a war room in Miami, Florida, our team. And they've been basically not sleeping for the last, 5 days, 6 days, something like that. It's been, I don't want to use the word gong show. What's the word? Guys, help me out here. I don't know if there's a word for this, but it's been
chaotic.
Fueled by caffeine, no sleep, sugar. And I'm the lucky one. I'm the one who like crashes at 9 p.m. I wake up at 5 a.m. to be fair. But I don't have to stay up all night. So I'm just moral support on this one and kind of like detoxing from Europe to get ready for Canada. But been fantastic. So if you have any money left after Black Friday and you'd like to spend it today, head to thrifter.com. They have tons of recommendations and all the hottest deals that are happening right now. And you got to be careful because there's a lot of shit that like people pass off as good deals online right now. And they're holding everybody accountable. So if you don't see it there, and you see it elsewhere, it's because they decided it's crap and it's not worth you buying. So, go there first and then make it a habit the other 364 days of the year too. It's a good one. How's that for a plug? I got Mr. Mobile's approval with the nod or the hair.
Yeah.
Can you nod your hair without actually nodding your head? Because I feel like
yeah, only when I'm super enthused though. Like we're gonna get there. No, it was fantastic.
Okay, so topics for today. We've got a couple, and obviously I want to not talk a lot because I want to hear from Jo and MrMobile and Adam. Maybe not so much Blaze. We'll talk so much in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm fine.
But the other plugs we have to do. So number one, if you're watching this and you're in Canada, we have our CrackBerry European Blackberry Unstoppable Tour kicking off. Not this coming, well, next Monday, 1 week today, actually. So, yeah, today's Cyber Monday. Our first event is going to be in Vancouver next Monday, and then we're hitting up 5 cities in 5 days. So if we go from Vancouver on Monday to Calgary on Tuesday, we wake up stupid early on Wednesday to fly kind of across like the country. It's a long flight, actually, to get to Montreal. Then we are flying to Toronto for Thursday. And then actually after that, we have a car ride Friday to Kitchener-Waterloo, the birthplace of BlackBerry, for the finale of the tour and our last meetup of 2017, which will be something like 30 in-person events that we've done, which I think has got to be a record by tech industry standards. I don't know if anybody who's been that ambitious or stupid, but either way, it's crazy. We've done it, so and it's been fantastic. And we'll talk about the European tour in a little bit as well. And then we're going to talk about BlackBerry Motion. MrMobile just recently posted not a review, but his sort of impressions as compared to the Key 1, which is a very interesting like point to get into, because I think at least 4 out of 5 of us on this podcast probably agree with him that it's like Key 1 is the BlackBerry, and then the Motion is something else. But it depends on your vantage point if it's the phone for you or not.
Yeah. That's been my position since putting down the Motion, or at least since picking it up. So yeah, I don't know if I didn't know that there was so much agreement though. I thought I would be thrown off this podcast 3 minutes after I showed up.
I mean, look, I really like the Motion. I love the Key 1, and would I have come out of, let's say, CrackBerry retirement if the Motion was leaked at CES this year? You know, probably not. It was the Key 1, man. But we'll dive into that more. But I like Motion, and we'll talk in depth on that. And Jo, I just want to introduce you to the CrackBerry world again, because I know they all know you anyways from your videos on YouTube. And I kind of recall you were a fan of MrMobile's, were you not?
Yeah, I was. You thought I didn't know him, but I did.
No. So then I felt like bringing you two together could be good, because
that's so nice.
It's nice to meet you, Jo, or on the podcast anyway.
He's in the beginning of his career, and Michael Fisher is in the
spiraling toward a glorious end.
I was not panic there at all.
I didn't predict that going well at all as soon as you started that. Michael Fisher is at the end of his career.
He didn't know it until just now. Turn in your papers.
Oh boy.
Okay, where do you guys want to start? Adam, we need some take us someplace that you're good. And I'm going to switch this hat off again. Go back to.
Thank you. Well, I mean, you could. I for one didn't attend the European Unstoppable Tour, so I would be happy if you could just fill us in. I mean, I would love to know a little bit about what went down and how you think it went in comparison, and what your expectations are for Canada. Do you think it's going to be awesomer?
I feel bad because I have to talk more because I was there.
That's the idea. I'm forcing you to.
Why do we have special guests on this episode then? We should talk to them first.
Well, I feel like Jen can talk about it as well.
That's true. We'll get there super quick.
Got the Frankfurt meetup.
We'll totally talk that. Okay.
There you go.
The crazy part is it didn't even start with the European tour. We started in Toronto on like the Thursday night Wednesday night with the Canada BlackBerry Motion launch party. So I've been living out of a suitcase since Halloween. Ended up in Toronto on whatever day that was. Launch party was awesome. So obviously lots of the BlackBerry mobile team was there, coming in from, some from Canada, some from the US, etc. Awesome event, really, nicely done. Lots of sort of local Toronto, like celebrities, influencer people there.
Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, Raptors were there too. yeah, lots of photos that were, posted to social, etc. And then James Nevis from the BlackBerry Mobile team, he also was there. And then we went to bed at probably 4 a.m. to then get up at like 6 a.m. to go to the airport to catch a flight to London. Got to London, and then began the European tour. And I should put this down because I get too excited when I talk and I shake my life.
No, it makes it very dynamic, man. It's very
Maybe it fits the Motion podcast.
There you go.
Kevin in Motion.
And then we kicked it off. So we had London on a Friday night. Turnout was awesome. Probably 150 people through the door for that one. A very dark venue, though. It was kind of like turned nightclubish. And then from London, we did Frankfurt on the Tuesday, but actually we went to Berlin for Monday, and then to meet some press. And then after Frankfurt, we did Prague, and then from Prague was to Paris, and then from Paris I flew to Miami for this. But it was like a 10-day trip or 8-day trip total. What was really cool was for the whole trip I was with James Nevis. So he was everybody knows him from Berry Flow, obviously, and he starred in one CrackBerry podcast before he quit. Pretty annoying, but we patched it up. I talked to him again, kind of was forced to. And he was doing all the device demos and everything at the events. And then what was super cool was, kind of after we started planning this, we coordinated a little bit better. And then Camille from the BlackBerry PR team in Europe, she basically coordinated in every city we went to, because the Motion is literally like just rolling out in Europe as well. We did press briefings in advance of the meetups. Like if the meetup started at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., we had like members of the press come an hour early. And CBK did the demos with everybody, or the press briefings, which was amazing. So it was like, I'd like to think the greatest press briefings ever, because, I kind of know all the official stuff, but then I know all the Kevin stuff I can add in. And then all I have to say is like, this is not what BlackBerry Mobile is saying at all, or BlackBerry's saying, but here's my take on it.
Were you busting Blackberries over chair arms and throwing them in pools? And
we didn't. No, we did drown.
Flexing on them.
I definitely was drowning it in. We'd get like tubs of water to leave it in for effect, and it was sitting there the whole time when I would do the briefing, and then I would pull it out, and I was like, by the way, it's my Emotion. It was my personal.
Put it in a glass of Campari to test it.
And I've scratched the hell out of them a lot too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the meetups were good.
Did they scratch?
No, it doesn't scratch easily at all. Yeah, the screen is definitely, pretty resistant to scratches. Maybe shatters, you could still shatter it if you try, but scratches, it's pretty good.
Crucial question, Jo. Thanks. You beat me to it.
What was the question?
Did it scratch?
No, it didn't scratch. It's good. And then I went to Frankfurt. So like London, and I'll say one last thing, and then I'll kind of like shut up, which I already said 20 minutes ago. Every meetup we do is always very unique and different, yet they're all the same, right? Like it brings out the hardcore fans, which are in every city we go to. I wasn't sure what would happen in, say, Prague. That was like not necessarily a city I was going to pick based off sort of CrackBerryness, but as we coordinated some of the places to go to, that was like BlackBerry Mobile said, hey, maybe you should do Prague. And I was like, sure, let's try it. Never been. And I didn't know what to expect, right? I wasn't sure if we would get, 5 people, 50. Would they just be there for like the phones, or would they actually know like CrackBerry and CrackBerry Kevin? And same thing, right? Hardcore fans, like totally, popping out every BlackBerry for the last decade, basically. Just know the whole story and have followed us. So the passion persists. And then, every city has its flavor. And what's funny now is on the European tour, I saw like these similarities to North American cities, but still different, right? So like London has kind of like a New York vibe, right? Big city. Frankfurt kind of reminded me of Calgary for some reason. Like just the mix of people, slightly more professional, but passionate, got there early, stayed all night, lots of drinking. Plus they won, that meetup won this year for best cocktails. Like Kevin was in whiskey sour mode the whole time on that one because they were mixing them proper with the egg whites. It was going right to the guns.
Going somewhere.
And then Prague was kind of like doing it in Winnipeg, actually, because it was like just like super passionate crew, super thankful that we did one there. just unbelievably humble. And then they drank like crazy. And then they made me drink some plum drink that was like a grappa. I don't know. There's a thread of comments on CrackBerry with every meetup that says, let's knock Kevin off his diet. Somebody's trying very hard.
I appreciate those people. I appreciate them very much.
I did it, though.
Good job.
Oh, yeah. J.O., I forgot. You took us to McDonald's.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Because we were too late. Like, nothing had opened. Nothing was open anymore.
Yeah, we actually ate McDonald's at like 2
Even when your
a.m.
night of drinking is going okay, and you think it's a great idea to hit the McDonald's at 3 a.m. That really is
until 4 a.m. and you realize that it was a bad idea.
Yeah. 7:45 a.m. You're like, what happened?
Look, all I know is my rock bottom this year was actually having Burger King with Michael Fisher in Berlin.
At the train station. Yeah.
At which point the next day I missed my flight because somebody had to spend about an hour and a half in the bathroom. And then by the time I got from the bathroom to the check-in counter, I missed my check-in window and spent 3 more days in Berlin because there was no other flight.
Been there.
Yeah, horrible. So, okay, Jo, you were at the meetup. Let's talk that quick, and then we'll come back to some motion discussion here.
Yeah. What do you want me to say?
Well, let's talk. I know part of it was you wanted to interview me there, but then it got too loud and crazy.
To do it.
What do you think of the event itself, though? You had fun. You hung out with lots of BlackBerry folks.
Yeah, I loved it. Especially like that so many different types of people came together, like those diehard tech guys, but also just those people that know BlackBerries from business usage. Like that all came together, and it wasn't like, I think if Apple did a meetup, it would just be like people sharing their apps and like talking the device, but that really were real conversations. That I really like that.
I think that's a good observation.
Of course, good drinks.
It's like people who have stuck with BlackBerry, let's say this long through the years, like it's not, there's a reason, right? And it's because they need the freaking thing. So you see a lot of people who are just like, no, this is the device that works for me.
And so many people with BB10 devices.
That's honestly what I found interesting was the amount of, like, it throughout all of the pictures and stuff like that were coming out of all of the events. Everybody had BlackBerry 10 devices, and it wasn't just like one specific BlackBerry 10 device. Like there wasn't any majority of like passports or anything like that I noticed, at least in the pictures. Yeah. There's like a wide array of BlackBerry 10 devices from like Q10s, E10s, everything was laid out there.
More BB10 devices than Androids.
Yeah, that was interesting.
More Q1s. So the good thing is, compared to say our original, our first Canada and US meetups earlier this year, where the Q1 really wasn't available yet. It was like just kind of, it was not really even on the market. It was just hitting the market. Saw way more Q1s through the European tour, which always made me happy. Like at the London event, people were just like, they were all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Press guys
on our Canadian tour this time around.
Oh, you're going to see a lot more.
Yeah, whether or not there's an actual increase of key ones that are out there.
And I'm going to start giving people who don't upgrade a hard time because I'm like...
honestly, I mean, they need to be given a hard time because, I mean, BlackBerry, it's done, man. It's done. Just move on.
I have, so at our Paris meetup, side topic, I should almost read it out. MrMobile, if I forward you an email, can you like do a dramatic MrMobile reading?
Until I finish another cup of coffee.
Okay, I'll email it in the next few minutes. I'll email it in a little bit, and at the end of the show, we can do a reading. But he printed out a 3-page letter, which he brought to the meetup. Then he followed up with an email. Very passionate.
You're gonna ask Michael to read a 3-page letter?
I was just gonna say, we're gonna have to renegotiate the terms of this deal.
It's a discourse. It's a discourse on love for BlackBerry 10. He did get a key 1 in this case and liked some aspects, didn't like some aspects, but his ideas were to bring back BlackBerry 10 and do this thing, and I sent an equally long reply to him, but my second sentence was like, BlackBerry 10's dead. And as hard it is to say, like, it's dead. The people, like, there's no people who could literally build a new BlackBerry 10 phone right now. I mean, even freaking Dan Dodge and Seb Marino, the two guys that from QNX, who are the people, don't work at BlackBerry anymore. Like, you could build a new operating system, I think, right now as easy as you could probably like rekindle BB10 at this point. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't.
But it's difficult to transition as a video maker, I think.
Difficult to transition how, Joe? Sorry.
Like, I was very passionate about BlackBerry 10, and I still am. I really like it, but I'm now nearly solely covering Android devices. A hard time, some people, that I think that Android is good.
You pigeonholed yourself as a BlackBerry 10 fanboy and not a not a BlackBerry fanboy.
I'm open to everything. I also like Apple in some ways. Everything like it's BlackBerry I like.
It's nice that it's fortunate that you bring up Apple, because that's exactly what I was just going to say. It's so regrettable to me that these a lot of the stuff that BB10 that I loved about BB10 back when I was using the Z10 or the Q10 would launch alongside it, right? Were those awesome gestures, and now they've been basically wholesale ported into iOS on the iPhone 10, and it's like, and I still enjoy them on the iPhone 10, but it was a holistic approach on BlackBerry 10 that felt unified and well thought out, and I think that's missing. And everyone always quotes WebOS, rightfully so, because that's Palm started this whole gesture thing in terms of a user interface paradigm, but like the iPhone 10 much more closely resembles BlackBerry 10 to me.
Well, which funny enough, like Dan Dodge and Seb Marino both do work at Apple now. I think Seb's LinkedIn profile for a couple of years said, VP of Core OS. So, maybe there's a reason.
Some of that coding is definitely from BlackBerry 10. Is what you're trying to say.
Hey guys, I just came up with this new idea. Do you want to check it out? Look,
it's revolutionary.
We were 3 years too early with this at BlackBerry, but you guys can have it now.
Adam, is it swipey or flowy? I forget what it was.
I'm pretty sure it's swipey.
Swipey, yeah, it's swipey now. Yeah, my only thing, MrMobile, do you prefer Michael Fisher or MrMobile in podcasts? I don't.
You keep calling me MrMobile. It's lovely.
MrMobile.
I don't have a branded crap around me.
It literally says it right behind him. So
I think your first impressions of the iPhone, I don't know or the iPhone 10, I don't know if it was in the review one or the impressions. I think the impressions, you kind of talked about it being like not fun, like not as, you have to work a little too hard for the gestures.
It was the first impressions. Yeah.
Do you still feel that way when you've used it a bit longer, or you feel like?
No, it really eased into it really nicely, because that was the first impressions in the purest sense. Like it was like 3 hours in, and then I had to give the phone back. So once I had it for a little less than a week, it took about a day or two, maybe two at the max, for me to get used to it.
Because the first impressions looked really awkward.
Yeah, and they were, and it really was. But then you give it that day or two, and some of it still doesn't work right. Reachability still is dumb, and there's a couple other. It just gets finicky at points, but
the closing apps to me was really annoying. Like you can't throw them away like you can on an iPad. Like why would you break your UI like that?
And I feel like, and I don't have anything to support this, but I feel like they made that a little harder to do because it's just iOS and Android, for that matter, doesn't need your help to manage tasks. Yeah. And throwing away all those apps doesn't really do anything for you. In fact, it can hurt you. In terms of the phone can't like cache app stuff, and when it has to reload them, it takes longer. It uses more power to do it. So it sucks. It's not as fun to dismiss apps, even though you can do it. You just have to press and hold first. So it's a giant.
So you think they did it intentionally just to sway people from closing apps?
It might have. I can't think of another reason to add that intermediate step now of pressing and holding.
I could see that being something that would be like on their mind, like.
Yeah,
because the recommendation is always like, don't close apps, just let Android and iOS manage them. You'll be fine that way, right?
Right, but and yet every time you ride a subway or you're waiting at the airport, you watch someone using their phone. They're just like going crazy, throwing away those
swiping apps and clearing all.
Yeah, see, I'm one of those people, but to me, it's like if you have a desktop computer with a whole bunch of freaking icons and files.
Yeah, it
drives me nuts. It's a messy house. Yeah. OCD kicks in. I'm like, I just want to clean.
Sure. Yeah.
That and my computer fan sounds like a freaking rocket taking off. So
that too. Let's talk. So that's an interesting conversation, though, just around, some of the BB10, gesture influence now in Apple. Do you think? I mean, what's interesting is coming to the Motion, you almost see it be a little bit of a flip flop, then, right? Like for many years, people made fun of the iPhone just having the home button, and now we have the Motion that brings a home button at the same time that Apple goes like. Gestury, more like what BB10 was.
I I want Android, like I want BlackBerry's Android to be more like BlackBerry 10 in a certain way. Like, especially when it comes down to the motions and the gestures and stuff like that. Like I know there's a lot of people out there who want the ability to go ahead and swipe right to be able to go ahead and bring up their hub. But like on a lot of Android devices, that brings up like Google Now or whatever they call it these days.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot of people out there who want that ability to be able to just go ahead, swipe right, and then they're dumped right into the
BlackBerry. You can
hub.
kind of hack that by adding a page.
Yeah, but that's
putting
the thing.
in a full screen widget.
No,
hub widgets.
I mean, you can totally change it out to Action Launcher and have it swipe right. Like set your left most and left application, and it will automatically bring in the hub and show you the hub like BlackBerry 10 did, right? But the thing is that once you start changing out the launchers, you're also removing some of the BlackBerry features that are built into the launcher. So you're gaining one thing, but you're also losing the keyboard functionality, especially on like key 1. On Motion, you don't have the keyboard, so it's not really a problem. But if you do that on the key 1, you lose the shortcut capability.
Yeah. And that's the issue with Android, right? Isn't it? It's like I use Android as my primary device, no matter what device that is. It changes almost every day. And I usually fall back to when I just have a couple seconds to talk to somebody about what should I pick an Android phone? It's like, because you can do whatever you want. You know, you can be like, oh, I wish this behaved this way. Well, you can download another launcher and make it behave that way. But the problem is, like you say, you lose that consistency of the interface because, right, you replace the BlackBerry launcher and great. But then all of a sudden you can't use, you know, whatever the...
Yeah, you can't use the shortcuts or you can't use like...
So like one question there, like with the key 1. So I know the convenience key setting is actually baked into system settings.
Yeah, so that still works.
So if you, that'll still work. But then shortcuts, they baked into the theme.
They baked shortcuts into the BlackBerry launcher. So as soon as you remove
is there a reason they couldn't bake that in to the settings the way they did the convenience key, so that if you changed launchers, they would persist?
I'm pretty sure they could take it out of there and put it into like the BlackBerry like services application that also runs on the devices. But the thing is that like who do you even forward that feedback to nowadays, right? Like who gets that message?
Well, I mean, you should write an article, or JO can do a video about how to make your Android BlackBerry more like BlackBerry 10, and then put your wish list
about doing that.
Yeah, there you go.
And then it kind of hacks it together for everybody else. So let's do it.
You can you can do the video, Jo, and I'll write the article.
There you go. Collaboration. MrMobile, do you want in on this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But that again would be just a thing for enthusiasts, right?
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, though, is that it's something that is built and designed around the enthusiast who comes from the BlackBerry 10 territory, but it also may appeal to somebody who is looking at the BlackBerry experience on Android devices. So a new, if you previously used Android devices like Michael, maybe that's something that he would enjoy on his Key 1, to be able to go ahead and have that accessibility rather than being stuck into the default Google mechanism. Well, that's something that BlackBerry can do on their Android devices to differentiate themselves from all of the other Android manufacturers that are out there, right? So yeah, you're appealing to the BlackBerry 10 audience, but you're also bringing something new to the Android audience that they haven't experienced yet. And I think that's where BlackBerry thus far has not really explored the opportunities with their devices. They sort of they took on the whole aspect that we're not going to change the Android experience too much. We're going to bring a little bit of BlackBerry into the Android experience, but not too much. And I think that for now, I mean, it's something that they should at least experiment with. If people don't like it, I mean, what's the harm in going ahead, creating this offering and putting a disable button on it for those who don't like it? You know what I mean? Everybody loves choices. That's part of the Android ecosystem, is the fact that there are so many choices, right?
So you know what's really funny? So in my reply to this really long discourse about the love for BlackBerry 10, one of the things I threw back at him was BlackBerry 10 actually pissed a lot of people off because it killed choices. Because in the BlackBerry OS days, we were all about themes.
Yeah.
All we freaking wrote about and did every day was changed our themes, right?
Yeah.
And then BB10 killed that. And then Android is like, you know, the theming, widgeting, like change it up how you want, master, right? And so this person was giving me kind of a hard time about like, well, I don't like Android because this. And I said, look, I reviewed the very first Android phone, the T-Mobile G1. You can read my review on CrackBerry. And even in my first impressions of Android, one of the things I said at that point was, it actually is building upon this thing we love about BlackBerry, which is extreme like personalization, customization, themability. And, you know, BB10 killed that, right? So as much as everybody like loves BB10 for what it is here, I actually think like what BBOS had, Android kind of actually has more of it. So the switch to Android, you can't get mad even if you love BB10, because there's still something in it that works. Yeah, you have to work for it a little more.
They missed out on a whole ecosystem of themes and customization options just by not having it built into BlackBerry.
Yeah. And we used to make so much money off the CrackBerry App Store, like themes at $7 a pop.
But I don't know, man. I think that would be something that's beneficial, and I know that there's plenty of people out there who agree with me that they want more BlackBerry 10 aspects into the Android BlackBerry devices. And I mean, like I said, it's worst case, you put a disabled button, make it an optional feature. If those who don't like it, then shut it off. You know what I mean? Well, but you're still appealing to the BlackBerry audience at that point.
And I do want to say, though, I think, you know, you have to separate this conversation of like enthusiasts and some of those like, I don't want to call them power user features. They're just, maybe they're unique features to like just having a good phone with a keyboard. One of the things I loved about this trip was I actually have met now several people using the Key One in the wild. And every time I see them, I stop them and I'm like, do you like your phone? How do you like the Key One? Universal love. And what I like too is it's not our CrackBerry audience. So like Toronto Airport, literally as James and I were waiting for our flight in the Air Canada lounge, this woman is sitting, you know, kind of across from us, and she's on her phone, just like head down, pounding out a message. And I walked past her just to double check because it was a distance. I'm like, oh yeah, it's definitely a Key One. And she just had a novel written down. Like she was laying into somebody in this email.
Yes.
And then I asked her, I'm like, how do you like your Key One? She's like, I love this thing. And then we were in, when we were in Berlin, we were walking down the street, and across the street waiting to, you know, we're waiting for the light to change. This woman has her Key One Silver Edition up, taking a photo at the building across. And it's such a distinct device, especially the Silver Edition from across the street. It's like, saw it like that. And as we're passing each other, I'm like, how do you like your Key One? She's like, I love this thing. And I'm like, that's it. You know, she's not like, oh, I wish it was BB10 and had gestures. It's like, it's a great phone, right? Great experience. Clearly, you know, winning in that case. So I always kind of temper our, you know, nitpicking with like the reality of what's it take to, you know, deliver a good experience. And, you know, I think when we're, you know, reviewers and, you know, MrMobile, I'll point to you on this one too, where it's like, you know, you're lining up every phone and you have to critique and have like, list your top 20 phones in order.
Right.
You know, what might matter to you might be the, you know, is the battery life good? Sold. You know, does it have this? Sold for a normal person.
It's so funny because the Key One conjures up so many mixed feelings for me. Because after your 5-minute, you know, love fest here, all I want to do is leave this podcast, go back home, and pick up my Key One again, which I moved back into right before the Motion thing, so I could do that comparison. And oh my god, I miss it I miss so much about it. Right? But one of the things I utterly failed to do in the review was talk about its kind of software speed, which like it always slows down. And then I'm about ready to just kind of get annoyed at it and publicly be like, listen, we got to talk about the Key Ones being slow. And then right before I start typing that up, BlackBerry releases an update, and then it speeds everything up. Like it's like the device it always should have been. I'm like, oh, great. And then about, 10 days later, it's back to grinding its way through my 15 apps or whatever it is. And I'm like, ah. So I've taken to just kind of using it for what that woman in the airport was using it for, pounding out massive blocks of text when I have to do that. And I never loved the device more than at that moment. I actually installed Microsoft Word on it. It's one of the only phones I have Word running on, just so I can just bang out paragraphs on the keyboard. So I still love it, but I have to carry it in concert with another device, not the Motion.
Interesting. Well, that's kind of, that's what I find the opposite is like when it comes to BlackBerry 10 phones. Kevin, I had no choice but to carry a second phone on me, whether it was an Android device or an iOS device.
Yeah.
Once I got the Key 1 this year, that was it. I became, one phone person. But I don't know. I mean, Black Edition, at least, I never really have noticed. I mean, since I got the Black Edition, I've not used the Silver Edition. I've just been using the Black Edition.
But the look of the Silver one is so.
Yeah, but I don't know if that extra gig of RAM in the Black Edition makes a difference, because I don't find it slows up. I'd say there's 3 particular apps that have a propensity to make the Key 1 slow down in that app itself, though.
What is your convenience key map to? Can I ask you, just to get really in the
right now
fine grain stuff? Yeah,
I'll show it to you.
Boom.
Oh, privacy shade. Yeah,
I do privacy shade.
Yeah.
At the moment, if not privacy shade, Google Voice search is what I've done.
That's exactly what I use, and that's what drives me nuts, because that is like the #1 exemplar of how slow the Key 1 can be when you hit that button, and then 5 seconds later it's finally ready to listen, and I'm like, why is this?
I don't feel like I've experienced that.
Let's compare notes on that afterwards, because I've been daily driving with this thing since launch, pretty much, until smartphones.
But I think you're right, Michael. Like what you're saying, when you don't update it, it gets terribly slow. Because I have a similar issue. I didn't update this for, I think, 2 updates.
Mm-hmm.
2 issues with Instagram and some social media apps constantly crashing without any reason.
Mm-hmm.
In the Motion, and I didn't hear that from anyone who has the newest update. So I think that just might be something they...
Yeah, and I mean, you got to stay on board with the updates, right? You brought up the Motion, and one of the things I really liked about the Motion was that right out of the box and thereafter, it always felt consistently faster than my Key 1 did. Of course, it was a newer device. I loaded it up with all the same exact app load. I logged into all the apps, so the Motion still felt like it was a little zippier, which is crazy to me because it's the same guts, right?
Here's a question I have, because I haven't used any Android devices with Oreo yet. Have you used any phones that have switched from Nougat to Oreo? And does that, like, all things equal, same hardware, same device, just switching from Nougat to Oreo, does it make a difference on speed or noticeable performance? Or is it basically the same? Or has no device experienced that yet?
In my experience, I've only had Oreo out of the box on mine. So, and really, I don't have performance issues on high-end flagship Android phones anymore. It's just kind of not a thing until you hit the 6-month mark. So, is
that still the case, though, you find? Like 6 months on Android like that? I felt like Nougat was maybe fixing that sort of historical Android fault.
Yeah, I think it does, but Samsung has been the historical example of this manufacturer whose phones really slow down.
Yeah,
I'll slow down a lot, and
I've always blamed Samsung for that, not Android.
Yeah, right, exactly. But even so, like the Note 8 is not very old. Granted, it appears to be aging much more gracefully than previous Samsung devices. I imagine the same is true for the S8 family.
What about last year's Pixel?
Last year's Pixels aged very well, I think. I don't know if anyone else on the cast is.
I had the Pixel XL up until I did the whole trade-in thing until I got my Pixel 2 XL, and it was great. I mean, it updated to Oreo, and if I wasn't a tech nerd and I didn't want the latest and greatest, there would be absolutely zero reason to get rid of it. Like it was
so you just answered my question then. So when you switched from your Pixel from Nougat to Oreo, was there a noticeable performance change, or was it just the same? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't huge. It was, it was like new software. It wasn't. I wouldn't say that it, was noticeably faster or anything. There's tweaks and stuff here and there, but it's a lot of cosmetic stuff. But I don't dive into the super geeky stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask, and it's a question for our interview guests and everybody, is we know Motion and Key 1 will both get upgraded to Oreo at some point, next year, hopefully early next year. Is there an expectation as a user of something I should expect? Like, should it be like coming back to Fisher's while it slows down, that occasionally would Oreo address that, or is that something else?
I always feel like, I back in the Priv days, I was waiting for whatever the update, maybe the Marshmallow update.
Those updates made the Priv worse, though, I found. I feel like this year the updates make the phones better.
That's why I never pin my hopes on an update, and with the Key 1, you have this added challenge and the Motion of this, the Snapdragon 625, which is a great chip, but it's getting up there in age now, So I don't know how well it's going to be optimized for that.
Interesting.
I just want to go back to the Motion speed compared to the Key 1 Silver speed. I really do wonder how much actually having the keyboard, like people don't think about this, or at least I think people don't think about this, but the keyboard software that gets loaded on there. I mean, when you have a keyboard on there, it's not exactly the same software because it's still pulling in like all of the shortcuts and everything like that. I really wonder how much those additional features and integrations in the OS actually play on the device speed, because I agree with Michael. When I go through on my Key 1 Silver Edition, it's not as fast as the Motion, even though it's technically the exact same hardware, you know, to a certain extent, right?
That's weird, right?
Right. And like the Motion does feel speedier than the Key 1 overall. And I don't have an explanation for it other than maybe that keyboard integration and the software that is running alongside it is additional weight added to the processor, you know?
Motion is speedy.
Yeah.
It's funny though. I don't know if until this podcast if I've had that mental realization though.
What, that it's speedy?
That it's speedier. Like I just rock, you know, people have asked like why, you know, CrackBerry, where's your review of the Motion? And I'm like, part of the problem is like my primary SIM card, I really just can't take it out of this. Like I'm just, you know, I got addicted to the keyboard and I love my freaking Key 1. And I've been using this a lot, but I'm like, I love this phone. So that's why Blaze is going to write the Motion review with Kevin's input. But
yeah.
Plus, people trust his opinion more than mine.
Totally. You're just a BlackBerry fanboy.
No. It's funny. That's actually one of the good. I had that topic a couple times at the meetups. I think it's a good one. We've talked on it before, but you know, some people are like, Kevin, are you like a spokesperson for BlackBerry now? And I'm like, no. Look, like over the last. Yeah, you asked. And I'm like, look, over the past decade, my role changes based on what the world of BlackBerry needs, right? In 2007, it needed a fanboy. In 2009, it needed CBK to be an asshole to yell at, you know, Mike Lazaridis and Jim Balsillie and the whole team to try to like fix something before, you know, Android, Samsung, Apple, and everybody came in. And we had no real relationship at that point because they were suing us, as I've talked about during our, you know, 10-year anniversary podcast earlier this year. You know, BlackBerry 10 comes, it's like, look, you need a champion for the platform because at that point you've been beat up and that's where it's at. And then, you know, right now I feel it's a similar thing, right? It's like I can be critical. I'm always critical. But, you know, right now, 2017 going into 2018, you know, Kevin's, you know, sort of promoter, champion, et cetera, for BlackBerry. And that's, I think, the best value to the world. But, you know, CrackBerry as a whole is always going to be everything. And we represent the community. And, you know, Blaze is hardcore on that respect. So I think between all of us, we get it done. But so you know, Kevin's official response and unofficial response is you should buy a Key 1 or a Motion, whatever you prefer. Ideally, on Cyber Monday, you can get great deals. And if you head to Thrifter or crackberry.com, we'll take you right to the links. Which, on that note, how much can you save today if you buy a Key 1?
You can
that was going to be my question.
You can save 150 euros in Germany for the Black Edition.
That's awesome. 150 euros off on that seems like a lot. That's a big discount.
And it's, BlackBerry Key 1 Silver Edition is $100 off at Amazon and Best Buy in the US right now. And I think that's the exact same for Canada because I think it's $5.99 in Canada, so it's $100 off at lots of retailers in Canada, Amazon, Walmart, Blue Shop, Staples, Vision Electronics, and Best Buy.
Sweet.
Nice. Can we just talk about the Motion now?
Well, I was going to say CrackBerry Canada store will soon be on that list, Blaze, because we have I have it open in a browser tab here. The relaunch of the CrackBerry Canada store.
Nice.
And we will have phones for sale. I really want for the meetups in Canada for people to be able to like buy their phone and then pick it up in person from us with like a CrackBerry swag pack.
Yeah, that'd be
so I'm trying to figure out if we can do that in the next couple of days. We'll see. We won't have Motion ready, which is too bad because it hasn't hit that like general open market availability through their distributor. That's probably a little later. but we could have key ones like for sale,
Yeah.
which would be, or at least black editions or something.
That's the other thing to mention too, is that a lot of the carriers, if you are in Canada and you want a Motion or a Key One, a lot of the carriers also have $100 off of either or device at this point as well. And I think those promotions run all the way up until December 2nd. So if you're down with the carrier deals and prefer to purchase your devices that way, you can get $100 off.
And if not, you can buy them at a CrackBerry meetup for full price, but we'll give you some stickers and swag.
Yeah.
That should be our new thing with meetups. It's like we get you in the room and then we lock the door and you have to buy a Q1 or a Motion before
BlackBerry
you.
MLM thing, that'd be perfect.
Especially if you're on a BB10 phone, we'll just like have a hammer and start smashing them.
Oh crap! You busted your phone. What the hell?
We could hook you up.
All right.
Really
So on
marketing
Motion,
going on.
Adam?
Yeah, let's talk about the Motion.
All right. So I was on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter, but anyway. Obai was asking about the Motion, and I told him my initial response, and he was like, "Hey, tell me about the Motion. You basically had a weekend with it." And I'm like, "I really don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm kind of like on the fence about it," because he totally expected me to say it was all right, but I'm still using my Key One. But that's really not the case. I've pretty much gone all in on Motion at this point, and I'm using it on a daily basis. It's my daily driver. I find it a nice, fast, responsive device. Some of the additional features like the locker mode on Motion are pretty sweet.
So what you're saying now is Blaze takes a lot of naughty pics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not as many as he probably doesn't have it set as a convenience key.
Hey, stop judging.
Nobody's judging it.
No judge zone here.
Well, we're all
But overall, I mean, it really does come back to one of those scenarios where it's like, do you need the keyboard, or are you satisfied with not having a keyboard? And if you're, satisfied with not having a keyboard, then I think the Motion is one of those devices that you can actually pick up and easily use, especially if you're coming from a BlackBerry audience anyways, right? A lot of the additional features that are built into it now, like as terrible as this sounds, there's a file manager now, which is up front and facing the audience, not deep within the settings anymore. And you have the locker mode. If there was
big battery life.
The battery life is pretty much insane on it, and
it's crazy.
I mean, I don't know how to fully explain the battery life, because realistically, if you take away the keyboard, your display is bigger, but the difference in the battery should compensate, so it should be on par with the Key One, technically speaking, but it's really not. I get more battery life out of the Motion than I do on the Key One. Not by much, mind you, but I still get more. So I don't know battery technology and the pushing of the pixels there, but I do know one thing: I get more battery life out of the Motion, and that's pretty standard.
Yeah, the only thing I could see with some users is you might find yourself doing things on the Motion more, like watching MrMobile and JO's YouTube videos, which. More than the Key One. So then, you may find yourself doing things that suck it back. But yeah, Motion battery life is really awesome.
Totally.
I'd actually say of all the videos on YouTube I've watched and articles I've read, probably MrMobile's has been slightly the most critical of the Motion.
Yeah,
definitely.
Which is why we brought him on to level out our CrackBerry highs. But that's been a totally current theme, especially through all the European reviews I read. There haven't been as many obviously in North America yet. Just like it's the phone you can't
with
kill.
all the European people. I don't know. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though. I do find like the button placement, like how all of the buttons are lined up here.
Oh my god!
I pick it up like if it's sitting on the table or something like that. My natural instinct is to, just go ahead, pick up the phone. But the very first thing that I hit every time that I pick it up is either the power button or the convenience key, and it's so annoying. Granted, it's like a little finicky thing. Once you realize it, you can get over it, and you just consciously stop hitting that button. But the first couple of times that you're using it, you're going to be hitting the convenience key. You're going to be hitting the power button until you realize, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that.
every single time. And it's not, you can train yourself out of it, but you shouldn't have to. Like the most,
that's
the most
my
appealing
thing.
button to press on the whole device should be the button that you press most often, the power standby button, and it should be exactly the convenience. They should. Do not get how like.
Do you hit that button to turn it on though, or just to turn it off?
Turn it off.
Typically to lock it. Yeah.
Okay, to lock it.
I still forget when I pick mine up, which I've had it for a week or so. I guess I still forget which one's the power button and which one's the convenience.
Me too.
Like every time I go to pick it up, I'm like, thumbs here, and I'm like holding the convenience key. And I'm like, nothing's happening. Let me try the other one, and vice versa.
And it's funny because on the key one, the complaint was the power button was on the left side.
Yeah. I'll take this any day over that. That was really confusing for me.
It was confusing for me too, but like once I realized that, oh, this is my left-handed phone, it was I could work it out. This is like, oh wow, that button feels great. That must be right, no, it's not. Okay.
So that's one annoyance that I ran into. And the other thing, people will probably make a bigger deal out of it than I, but in saying it, but the camera I find isn't exactly on the same level as what the key one is.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm like slightly confused and not necessarily happy with. Not that I found it to be horrible, but like I think the thing I said earlier this year with the Key One review is like, please never make a BlackBerry that has bad battery life again. This is like the new standard we expect.
Yeah.
And I think the same was with the camera, right? Like the Key One's camera, by BlackBerry standards, punched way above every BlackBerry before it. And I'm like, this is great, right? We need to see this just only get better. And then Motion definitely didn't take a step forward. In some cases, it feels like it took a step backward. Although, some cases it wins against Key One in my experience. The Key One can be a little bit red, which I found in if I take food shots, which I did a lot of in Europe, like escargot and some pasta and things like that. My beiges were a little too red, and the Motion was spot on with it. But then in other photos,
have to hold the Motion more steadily. In my
definitely.
It's I said it in my video, like HDR is not usable at all. Like even though you hold it steady holding it steady, it gets blurred and mushy. It's totally frustrating in my experience. That's the one.
It's weird too because I mean, on paper the specs are the same, but they don't. That's the other thing. We know what the sensor is on the Key One, and we don't have the information about the sensor on the Motion. They never gave it to us. So it's, even though on paper they look identical, 8 megapixel, 12 megapixel, they're not identical. And there's something different about it.
I got an email about that after I mentioned it in my video. I don't know if like this is I don't know if anybody wants me to talk about it. If you don't want me to
if there's something you can shed, I mean, I'm curious.
This is not confirmed stuff. I have not been able to sort of verify the authenticity of this info, but I got an anonymous email from somebody who claims to work at BlackBerry Key One and Motion Tech Support.
Okay.
Beat. Okay, good. Nobody's going to stop me. On your recent video, you stated we couldn't give you info. Well, the Motion has an OV1270 sensor with a size of 1/2.86. Pixel size is 1.25 micron, 2.0 aperture. The front is an OV8856. So OV being OmniView, I think, is the name of that manufacturer. Yeah. So if this is accurate, and again, I have no reason to hew one way or the other. I mean, it would seem to be an inferior sensor on the primary.
Yeah.
And that's
compared to what's in the Key One.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, but you're right, Kevin. Mine went back and forth. I was shooting side by side, Motion and Key One. Sometimes the Motion won out. Sometimes I preferred that shot. But the shooting experience in the Key One was always easier. I could get focused faster.
Is that software then? Like in software fix, or is that actually hardware sensor stuff? I don't know enough about.
Probably
a sensor difference is real. Then software can only do so much.
Yeah, I mean, they could probably make a little bit of the experience closer to the same as what the Key One is, but the results are not going to be the same.
This is an interesting debate to get into, because obviously Motion is a pretty, it's less expensive, right, than the Key One.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you can say, okay, there's room to like, some things might not be on par, right? And justify that way. But the debate I want to have is, I feel like that's a non-negotiable going, let's say, forward if it's too late to change anything now, right? It's like, don't skimp on camera, don't skimp on battery ever.
Yeah. I think
especially because it's such a multimedia focused device.
Yeah.
People sharing pictures on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's one of the debates that came up a lot. Two interesting recurring conversations through our meetup tour that came up. One was, well, I'll come back. I'll do the first second. One was just into like a high end, let's say BlackBerry, because both Key One and I mean, shit, you can buy 2 Key Ones for the price of an iPhone 10 and have change left over to buy accessories and stuff. You can buy 2.3 or 4 Motions for the cost of an iPhone 10. And the question is, for, let's say, the BlackBerry legacy enthusiast audience, are they price sensitive or not? Like, I know everybody says, look, the Priv was too expensive for what it was at the time. But, let's say going into 2018, if they do a more all-out, spec'd out BlackBerry, does that have a big demand for it? So that's one topic to talk on. The second topic is what I've dubbed, the BlackBerry Key One World Edition, which would be like a dual SIM version of a Key One. And I was surprised whenever we talked to the press, everybody unanimously said like dual SIM is just an awesome feature. And then as we think about like the context of a BlackBerry, say, business traveler, like that kind of quintessential, hardcore BlackBerry user you think about, that makes sense to offer that. And the thing that's interesting is like, why don't they? Well, because, logically, it's not official, it's just in my head. If you're selling with a lot of carrier partners, which BlackBerry Mobile is doing right now, carriers don't necessarily want to sell dual SIM phones, right? Because you're sort of encouraging not just being locked into a carrier still. But I love the idea of, personally, a dual SIM / high-end BlackBerry, whether that's a Key 2 or something else. But MrMobile's shaking his head. He's like, it's got to be affordable.
No, no, sorry. I was shaking my head because I'm just getting blown up on Twitter. No, I think the affordability question is a really good one because the Motion to me felt like, and I don't know if this is where you wanted to go first, but the Motion is priced competitively, and it, regardless of all the nitpicking we're doing, I think it's actually priced pretty well for what it offers. The problem that I have with it is that it seems to make just one too many compromises in one too many areas. We talked about the camera already. The display also, at first I thought maybe the camera quality was not suspect because the display just felt so washed out and there's not a lot of color there. The coating on the display to make that cheaper Dragon Trail more scratch resistant, great. You also need to carry Windex around because of the your skin oil will just stick.
What does Dragon Trail? Dragon Tail? I've never thought of
Trail. Yeah,
what's
I don't know.
Dragon Trail? I don't know what that.
It's not. It's widely regarded to be less expensive to integrate than Corning Gorilla Glass, and you can feel it. You can see the difference between the Key One and the Motion in terms of how well they hold on to your skin grease. Sorry.
Interesting. Okay.
And
dirty
there was
phones.
Dirty people.
Just those kind of things. These little details that for me are very forgivable given the Motion's price point. If you consider it, a mid-range phone that you're factoring in next to a Moto X4 or an HTC U11 Life or whatever. But when you think about a BlackBerry, for me, unless you're thinking about one of those D-Tech rebadges, it's like you think it's quality hardware that you want first, right? It's kind of hefty, well put together machine, and I don't get that sense as much from the Motion. I think that's the thing that bothers me.
Much more than the D-Techs, though. I think that's one of the things I like about Motion a lot. Is it doesn't, like I've always said, and I've said on the podcast before, like I should be able to close my eyes, pick up the phone, and be like, okay, that's a BlackBerry. And the Key One, yes. The Motion is like, yes, like it's there. The grip on the back is there. It's maybe a little, there's something in like the sides. I'm like, and it could be heavier. If it was heavier, I'd probably be more like, oh yeah, it's too damn light still.
Right.
But
that's
I don't disagree with you.
And I think I get a little concerned because it's early yet in this BlackBerry rebirth story, and we're already sort of getting this watered down sort of Key One. It's like without a keyboard, and
it's like, a pretty comparable sibling device, though. If you just think, chipset, You know, I like having, I mean, obviously everybody, and you know, honestly, when I gave my press briefings in Europe there, that was kind of how I positioned it. I said, look, everybody gets the key one, right? BlackBerry physical keyboard. There is no other option on the market. Like, check, you know that that's the phone you want, right? I think it makes sense for BlackBerry to have a touchscreen complement. Totally. Now, it's a much different space to get into because of the number of alternatives on the market there. And the other question is, how do you position BlackBerry in that space, right? And you know, my take on it, and I like, even if you think about the name Motion and sort of this notion of kind of life proof that they're talking about.
Yeah,
it's motion notion.
Just Michael and I are on the same page because we're like the notion of the motion in the ocean.
The ocean is
small craft advisory. Yeah.
I caught it.
Oh, boy.
It's kind of to leave in a phone like that holds up for life, right? So if you think about the worry of, okay, first BlackBerry that's, you know, water resistant and dust, you know, dust proof, whatever. The scratch resistant display, the big battery, and I like this even, you know, this Unstoppable branding where it's kind of like, you know, the Unstoppable, I think, is a node to crazy battery life. All those things tell a pretty good story if you put it in with, you know, especially tie it to the security story, privacy story that, you know, BlackBerry typically supports. Like, I like the direction the Motion has gone in from the positioning standpoint. And even to say, like, look, we're not, you know, you could say, okay, look, we need less bezel on the Motion and stuff like that. I won't disagree with you. It looks a little bit like it could have come out, you know, design-wise a year and a half ago, right? Versus what we've seen the trend be in 2017. Mm-hmm. But I still like the positioning of like, okay, we know what a physical keyboard BlackBerry is. What should a touchscreen BlackBerry be? And I like where they're sticking it, which is, you know, Fisher, MrMobile would have known like the LG V10, 20. Is that the one that was very sort of industrial that you liked?
Oh, the V20, V20 and the V10 both, yeah.
10. And I think for BlackBerry, like, I think LG doing that never owned it. Like, they never got maybe the credit of going into like a more industrial, tough thing. But I think BlackBerry space in an all-touch phone is that, right? And the Motion is heading there. Yeah. I think it's a good option right now, but I would love to see like it go just that little bit further, right? And if that means up price point, no compromise, even more like, you know, dense and tough, that would be, you know, the touchscreen BlackBerry I'd want to see. Not the D-Tex. You know, Motion is close. It's close.
Did you see that leak?
But then Key One is there, right? So I'm like, Key One has got it.
Oh, that concept.
Motion is close.
What leak? Oh, was it a concept?
No, that concept.
The concept is awesome.
That looks like the silver edition. Yeah, that's what I think a BlackBerry touchscreen device should look like.
Can we here? Maybe I can screen share this at the same time as we're talking because it's worth showing for those watching.
I love the Passport Silver Edition, and I love that the Key One was sticking to it. Like, it really looks like a modern version of the Silver Edition Passport, and that all-touch device, I would totally buy it.
Okay, here, if you're watching a video right now, you can see at the top we have a Cyber Monday takeover video. It's super cool. And then we've got the BlackBerry Concepts design. Looks amazing. It's literally called the BlackBerry Concept. Yeah. You know, from the front, you'll notice the dual stereo speakers and minimal edge bezel. Only one button on the right side. But then look at these photos.
And that Sigma lens, and I like the concept.
This is super cool. The back side here, where it's just it's got that silver stripe down the middle, separating the textured back,
and that
even the shape around it.
Thing.
Yeah, super distinct.
Just make me so sad because I've never ever seen like a cool concept come to life.
Isn't this amazing?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's fun to look at and it's fun to dream about, but who's going to build it?
Yeah, but this is buildable though. This isn't like an unattainable concept.
No, it's not.
No, but it never happened. Like, yeah, we all get drooling, and then the kind of whoever the manufacturer is kind of goes like, yeah, okay, that's nice. Here's another thing that you sort of like. Oh, okay.
Here's the huge bezel we were talking about.
Here's my question though: is that like, okay, Kevin, you're talking about future touchscreen devices coming from BlackBerry Mobile. How many How many future touchscreen devices do you think BlackBerry Mobile will build in comparison to like their keyboard devices?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Do you think there's a balance there? Like, are they going to go one for one? Is the Motion the last touchscreen we're going to get?
I mean, look, we already know that Motion is kind of launching in limited markets, which I take that to mean like, let's see how it goes. I mean, the Key One, like when we were in Barcelona, it was like, we're going to launch this thing in 5 markets. And then that became 15 markets. And it's going to be in 50 markets at the end of this year. And that's huge, right? I think they, and that's a result of there being demand from carriers, retail partners in other countries than what they, TCL, BB Mobile initially set out for. So, I mean, if you're looking for a sign of success at Key One, I think that is an answer. That's your answer, right? It's like more people want it. We're supplying, supply demand. I think with Motion, you're not just going to like throw it everywhere. You're going to take a wait and see. And I'm sure a lot of people, including them, like BlackBerry Mobile, would have the same question, right? It's like, here's what we have, priced, as you said, MrMobile, it's, fair price for what it's offering. I think there's a lot of features that will resonate with BlackBerry users, especially the battery life. And, we've seen that before. We ran a poll on CrackBerry maybe last month or maybe 2 months ago now about, what's the most important feature to you in a BlackBerry and in a touchscreen BlackBerry? Number one is battery life, and one of the features people wanted to see was, waterproof, that kind of thing. So I think it checks off the list a number of features that we haven't necessarily seen. And if you compare it to maybe the D-Techs, which were your last sort of business enterprise play for a full touch BB, I think Motion addresses it. But I mean, I don't know, like if you're the people planning, the debate I would be having is like, well, is BlackBerry brand just synonymous with keyboards when it comes to smartphones, and let's just go into that aggressively, or do we feel the need to always have a complement? And if so, how many? I don't know if it would be 1-to-1 or 1-to-2, like, because it's weird, right? If you just say like, okay, BlackBerry's a keyboard company, then it comes back to kind of what old BlackBerry used to do, which would be like, here's your flip phone BlackBerry, your slider phone BlackBerry, here's your widescreen one, here's a narrow screen one, and you could have like 4 versions of keyboard phones and just and then upgrade them all every year and a half. Or you say, well, we're doing both keyboards and touchscreens, then you kind of maybe have like one of each all the time that's current. Like, I don't know.
So many people told me that, finally a real phone from BlackBerry when they saw the Motion. Like,
well, so this is the thing. And then we're inside a keyboard bubble, right?
Yeah.
So if that's, that's like an interesting thing to hear, right? It's like,
but isn't that weird though? Like how, I agree. And I think if you had told me a year ago or 2 years ago that I'd be sitting here on a podcast advocating for physical keyboards on BlackBerry, I'm drunk. What are you talking about? But it's incredible. When you told me that last time we spoke, Kevin, I don't know how long ago it was, but about the BlackBerry Key One, when you reminded me that it was only intended to launch in 5 markets first. And now, I
mean, that was all they announced. Yeah, I mean, maybe they intended a little bit more than that, but it was pretty.
Doesn't that suggest to you that we're not in that? Maybe the keyboard bubble is a little bit bigger than we are than anyone had expected, and that there's still some runway left.
I mean, I don't know device volume sales of this year, right? I don't think they're selling 50 million Key Ones or anything right now.
Sure.
But I think even a niche market, it's a big freaking world. I mean, there's 2 billion.
I think it's a bigger bubble.
Yeah, there's 2 billion smartphones on the planet, right? And people are going to want to upgrade them every couple of years, and a segment is going to want keyboards.
I think it's a bigger bubble, but the overall device experience hasn't been fully met to bring a lot more people into the fold. I think if there was higher end devices that were out there with keyboards, then you would see a little bit more transition. But I realized that when you put more higher end specs into it, you're also giving up the battery life. You're also giving up the lower costs and everything else. But I truly think that there should be, there should be like your mid range, and then there should be a high end device to at least go ahead and test.
What's a Note 8 cost? Like, that's an expensive phone, also, right?
Well, that's $950 is what it released at.
Yes. And that's Samsung catering to a business market, right? So, I mean, it would be interesting to see a high, like an expensive all-out BlackBerry that's basically the FU to the Note 8. The price point was.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
I think.
Yeah, the concept phone. There you go.
Yeah.
Build
A
it.
BlackBerry with a stylus. Do you think they would do a stylus? Maybe we should.
Nobody can.
Who needs
Like
that, right?
Samsung has the lock on that Wacom stuff, and I feel
Is
like
that how that
nobody-
works? Do they have
Yeah.
like an exclusive thing?
Yeah, I think. Well, at least last I checked, that was the impression that I got. They have a big stake in Wacom, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Makes sense though, because you don't see a lot of styluses on a lot of other phones.
Yeah, and the ones that do, it's just this the LG one here in the States is the only other one I know of, and it's this capacitive sort of dumb stylus. People still like them. I mean, I think they move.
Interesting. Cool. Any other topics on this podcast, or we need to wrap it up? I got to get back to Cyber Monday thrifting.
Hat switch again.
Watch out for this guy.
I don't know.
I would have to anyway because I have an appointment in like 10 minutes.
Well, you guys are both welcome, Jo and MrMobile, on the show anytime.
Thank you.
I loved it.
And you can join even if I'm not here, because then maybe Adam and Blaze will just do a podcast anyways, because
Exactly.
they won't
We have
do
more
it.
people to talk to other than me and Adam.
Yeah.
I just have a personal announcement. November
What?
27th was the 10-year anniversary. Today is the 10-year anniversary that I first made my blog post on CrackBerry.
Whoa.
That should have been the lead of the
like
show.
10 years on CrackBerry.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, man. Good for you. Jeez.
That's crazy.
Right? Kevin has sucked 10 years of life out of me.
That's my age, almost.
Oh my god, that's funny. Congratulations, Blaze. I feel like we
Thanks.
should, give you a raise or something. I don't know. Buy you a present. I will get you a new BlackBerry Key One or Motion if they're on sale today.
I was just gonna
Just
say.
$4.29
I don't know
Germany.
if that's a good one.
I was about to start complaining
fun.
about my lack of a personalized Key One, like laser engraved Key One and custom colors, but now I'm just gonna give that to Blaze.
No, I think Mr. Mobile should get. You should both have them. Actually, we should all have them. We should get some. I mean,
Key ones.
I do have a CrackBerry style ring on the back of this
Oh yeah, that's the same thing.
and this. It's not bad.
If you're Kevin of this, once he puts a ring on it, it's good to go.
I don't want to use it without a ring like that.
BlackBerry Q1, will you be mine?
Aww. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Mr. Mobile, where can people find you?
People can find me at the Mr. Mobile on YouTube and and the newly relaunched Instagram channel as well, which we're having a lot of fun with. So the Mr. Mobile, THEMRMOBILE.
And if you go back a few posts, you can find one where Mr. Mobile is giving away a BlackBerry Motion.
Man, I keep forgetting to pimp this giveaway. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I am totally giving away a Motion, and it's not the one we've been beating to hell and back in the office. It's a brand new one. So
Shiny one.
yeah.
Blaze, when you write up the blog post, maybe make sure you refer to that, because otherwise people have to listen for 70 minutes before they hear that.
Okay. I'll make sure we get
Don't
that
make
in
the
there.
mistake that I did and forget to include it in the video. Most relevant. So yeah.
Jo, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube / Jan Ole Helmbold, which is JANOLE.
Maybe we'll link that one. We'll put a link to that.
On Twitter, same name, and on Instagram, which is just Jan Ole and an H.
Love it.
Nice.
Blaze, where can people find you for the past decade?
You can catch me on Twitter at BLA1ZE, and you can catch me on CrackBerry, and you can catch me on Instagram as well.
And
So,
what day is your
yeah,
BlackBerry Motion review going live on CrackBerry?
some point in time before December 3rd. I'm not making any promises.
Okay, now.
But it will be
first.
before December 3rd.
Okay, so this week, you got a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Adam Zeiss, where can people find you?
I pretty much gave up on social networks, so I think just on CrackBerry.
That's why you're so happy now. That's what I'm telling you.
I could talk about that for days, but I deleted Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram from like all my electronic devices.
So you just live in
I love
life?
it.
So you just live?
I
How
got
does
to
that
hang out
work?
with my family for Thanksgiving. Like it was great. And then I
you're
don't get
so
so
zen.
annoyed. And then, like, if he wants me to do something at like midnight one night, I'm like, yeah, I haven't had to listen to you complain about something on Twitter, so I'll do that.
What? I barely use Twitter.
No, you don't. I'm just saying, like hypothetically.
I got it. I love it.
Kevin, where can people find you?
I am at CrackBerry Kevin on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find me on crackberry.com, although I haven't been writing a lot lately, and I should. There's also a YouTube channel at CrackBerry or something like that. And that's it.
Wow.
Sorry, Kevin. Lots
Way
of
to sell it,
places.
Kevin.
Thanks again to the Thrifter team for letting us use their war room today. Tuning in live, they've been riveted to not our voices because they've been hunting for the best deals on Cyber Monday. Please head to thrifter.com. Subscribe to the newsletter so we can help you spend your money wisely where it matters all year long.
Make sure you sign up for the meetups.
Heck yeah. Yeah, the turnouts are going to be good. Like already, Toronto is, I think, passing, 300 people soon, which is insane. I think Vancouver's over 150 on the way to 200. We have a great venue there. Great venues every city. We crush it on the venues at every Unstoppable meetup. This is very true. Yeah, MrMobile.
Yeah, the Boston one was dope. We had a lot of sour beer. Great place.
So much sour beer.
Yeah.
That's right. We had one together. You experienced it's
You know it.
that was good. I forgot about it for a
So
second.
long ago, Kevin forgot about it.
That was old Kevin who consumed so much food. New Kevin doesn't eat as much. Or sad. So wait, Adam, since you're not on social media, did you not see my video of me skipping yesterday, like jumping rope?
See, right there. Point in case. Benefits of not being on social media.
Can we share the screen on this as our final out? And then, okay, this will be, Michael, J.O., if you guys want to leave, you don't have to watch this. This is where.
Can I leave?
I'm sorry, but I have to.
No, no problem. This is for Adam's benefit, and then we'll say goodbye.
I just don't want to see you anymore. I can't.
Nice to meet you, Jo.
That has been enough.
Take care, man.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
This is now the official after show.
I just like how you said it's for Adam's benefit. Is that you skipping rope right there?
No, this is Black Friday fighting. Oh. That's funny. You're not going to hear the volume. Hey, look, there's me and Jo in Frankfurt. Cyber Monday deals. Oh, Adam, you're missing out on so much life right now by being off social media. Yeah, so yesterday, not on sale, but I bought these new. Have you seen the Bose Sound Wearable?
What?
No. Oh, yeah, the toilet seat.
Yeah, so it's a toilet seat you wear around your neck. That's a Bluetooth speaker.
He's got a squatty potty on his neck.
And it's ridiculously awesome. I tried it yesterday for the first time. It's like a new sensation for sound. Because it's not like having earbuds or headphones. And it's not like having like loud music in the room. It's basically like the volume is just in your head. And you can do it for music, but obviously like phone calls, Skype calls, Slack calls, whatever else too. And I've never experienced anything like it, so I bought it immediately. And you can see the usage cases here. Like this guy's reading a magazine on the couch, probably listening to some music. This other guy's like an architect or something.
Do you really think that guy might be listening to music with that on his neck? Or
yeah, I think so. Okay, here you go, Adam. Here's the video.
Oh, good God.
Ready?
The bright side, I guess, is that you have somewhat of a shirt on.
Yeah. Here's comes some moves. Now you see me bouncing. Now I'm in motion.
TM.
Now I got a little side bounce. Knees up. And here comes the finale, little double under action. Ready? And boom. Nailed it. Boom. Nailed it. Boom. Nailed it.
This is great radio.
I don't know.
And finale. Now, the thing is, in January, I could last 45 seconds and barely, I'd be like, ugh. And then now, yesterday I skipped for an hour. That was just like after. That was after an hour of skipping. I did that.
You skipped rope for an hour straight?
Yeah, like I take some breaks. I screw up every now and then. So but yeah, after an hour of skipping, then I shot that.
So you and Mark should do a collab fitness video.
I already beat him at an arm wrestle at IFA, and I have nothing left to prove to that kid. So, and I was not working out at all. So now I feel
that's like how Kevin operates. Once he annihilates you once, he wins, and then he doesn't want to play no more.
I did that when I was
taking my skipping rope and going home.
Yeah, I did that when I wasn't even trying. So now it would just I would make him feel bad. Please. So I let him have his Instagram glory.
I want to show my hat that I got for my birthday.
That's funky.
Yes. Back to the Future.
Blaze knows what's up.
Love it.
It's my Back to the Future. I have such a giant Zeiss head that it doesn't really fit, but I'm going to keep it with my Back to the Future stuff.
It's amazing. Well, guys, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, great Black Friday, Cyber Monday. MrMobile, your hair looks fantastic as always, and we appreciate it gracing us here along with the rest of you.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Blaze, I'm going to see you in Vancouver on Sunday. What time do you arrive?
Oh, boy.
I would have to double check, but I will be there.
And so my only fear for next week is obviously snowstorms and flight delays, because our schedule is so tight that if anything goes awry, we are screwed.
Yeah, we're literally going to an event.
Like the meetup will happen.
Hopping on a plane, sleeping, going to an event, hopping on a plane, sleeping. It's messed up.
So the worst case scenario is the event will still happen. People can still come and eat and drink. There just may not be Blaze, Kevin, James, or folks.
So you shouldn't have said anything, because then you just tell somebody to be like, oh yeah, Kevin's over there, or oh, I haven't seen him in a while.
Well, no, but the reality is enough people in the audience in Canada will have Key Ones or Motions. It'll just be a hangout. Like they'll just hang out and show each other the phones. It'll still be amazing. It just,
go party. Everything's paid for ahead of time.
Yeah, we'll call in the credit card authorization. Okay, peace, everybody. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys.